Thank you for joining us today. We're going to cover three important factors that drive career success in this conversation. We're going to touch on how connecting with purpose and mission influences your ability to have career success. We're going to take a look at how a limitless mindset helps you develop career success. And then we're also going to look at how embracing minimalism allows for you to achieve career success. A lot of really important things that we're going to cover. And a lot of this conversation is actually driven from the recent interview that we had with Sonia Sepulban, CEO of Our Office. One of the most important things that came out of that discussion was the fact that she mentioned that even early on in her career, she had a deep connection to purpose and mission as one of the driving factors behind her career. You can't actually argue with the results because this is somebody that's actually risen the ranks out of NASA, risen through the ranks of the several Fortune 500 companies, and now is a startup founder. But there are three things that came out of that discussion that I think is worth calling out. So when you're looking at how purpose and mission tie to career navigation and career success, you have to look at building a strong connection to your work. If you understand the purpose and the mission of the organization and connect with that immediately, that's going to help you connect the dots between the tasks that you're assigned and the big picture goal. One of the really important conversations that has happened in the world of work is Simon Sinek's TED Talk about the Golden Circle. And this is basically an element of human psychology where you're looking at the key factors that drive human decision making, and that's operating from a why mentality. So when you're thinking about career success, connecting with purpose and mission is going to be critical in helping you define your why and shaping how you actually show up and navigate through the world. Now, if you're out there and you're thinking, I'm pretty early in my career and I haven't really figured out what my purpose is, well, that's fine too. This is an opportunity for you to actually experiment across functions or within functions in a lot of different ways that allow you to discover what that why or that purpose is. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how should I navigate through my career. The other key thing that came out of the conversation with Sonia was this concept of having a limitless mindset. And oftentimes we're our own worst critic. And we go into environments and we automatically get indoctrinated into thinking that these sort of things are not possible, whatever that might be. We've always done it a certain sort of way, so we have to stay within those guidelines. And I think what that does from a mindset perspective is that it puts a lot of guardrails around yourself that isn't productive. So what you can always do to prevent yourself from getting into those artificial boxes is get in the habit of calling things out. Identify areas of opportunity where things can be done differently, bring that up to your network internally, and work on ways that you can actually advance and change those things. Then you become seen as the person that is always armed with a set of solutions versus just the person that is complaining about problems. I think the thing that was interesting about the conversation that came out with Sonia was that you have to break away from thinking from a me versus the organization mindset. You have to orient yourself in thinking in a way that connects you as a web within the organization. An organization is just people. So what you want to do when you're actually trying to impact change is connect with the people that are above, below, and across from you and present these solutions as a way to make their lives easier. And thinking about your solutioning from that mindset will actually help you build that limitless mindset. That was a really important learning coming out of that conversation, and I felt it was worthwhile to call that out. And then the last thing that is important is that if you're heavily oriented to driving change and you're finding yourself in a situation where constantly butting heads, you may want to look at moving into different divisions within the organization or outside of an organization if you're not able to make the type of impact. But before you do that, it's critical that you actually build strong networks within your organization and build strong advocates that can help point the way from point A to point B. And you want to be able to tie those things that you've observed and the changes that you're requesting to a business impact. If your team, your leader is presented with a solution that is going to help the team or the leader do things better, faster, at a lower cost, or some combination of all three, that's going to be worth a discussion. And it's going to be important for you to break it down that way and make the business case so that you can help advance those initiatives forward. There was a lot of stuff that came out of the conversation with Sonia that's really interesting. But one of the things that was surprising was a discussion that we had on minimalism and how that actually has some real world business implication. I think a minimalist mindset gives you a level of flexibility and resourcefulness that's important to tap into. And those are two key lessons that you want to think about when you are navigating your career. It's not about how many things that you accumulate or acquire. You want to be agile and flexible enough to respond to change. And if you're the person that's able to pivot and charge forward faster than everybody else, that gives you a natural advantage. You're not living a minimalist lifestyle. You're going to have trouble making those pivots. So it's important to keep that mindset in play. The other important thing that came out of the conversation was how being a minimalist allows you to have more of an outward focus versus an inward focus. That actually taps you into your natural community building instincts. And it actually forced you to have an outlook that was outward facing versus inward facing. And when you're outward facing, you're looking at building connections and leveraging everybody's strengths versus being self-contained. So it's interesting how a minimalist mindset allows you to tap into real strong senses of community. So hopefully those three things that we covered in this conversation about how you can have better chances of success when it comes to career navigation, connecting with your purpose and mission, having a limitless mindset, and embracing minimalism is helpful for you as you're navigating your career. There are a lot of other lessons that you can pick up in listening to the conversation that we had with Sonia. I encourage you to go ahead and do that. If you like this summary, only have one ask for you. Go ahead and follow the show and give us a rating. So that's actually two asks. Who's counting? So we appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit. Tune in next time for another great conversation on cascading leadership, where we are going to help you move your career further faster.